Good evening, everyone. My name is Claire Wool. I am chair of the Burlington School Board, and I am here tonight for our December Commissioner Corner with my guest, Tom Yando. Tom Wheeler, 1904 Integrated Arts Magnet School Academy, so that families, students, members of the public are going to be able to watch this and see the documents. They are all on our website, but it is nice to sit and be able to click on a link and be able to go through a visual story of what has happened. So how did we get here? Back last year in February 2024, we have a document that talks about the renovation update, but really it goes back to 2017 when the Burlington School District passed a bond thanks to the citizens of Burlington for the capital improvement needed throughout our 12 schools in the city. During that time, we identified areas of improvement at many of our schools, and specifically IAA, but the magnitude of those renovations really required the building to be free of students, and it wasn't possible to do that work over just the summer months. So when the opportunity came up within the school district to be able to relocate our Integrated Arts Academy students, faculty, and staff, we were able to start the majority of this big renovation. And how we got here is through the generous federal funds known as ESSER funds, which are called our Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Release Funds. Those were stimulus funds by the federal government. We were allotted $10 million. They were to be used in 2020, 2021. They were granted to different school districts throughout the United States. And in the pursuit of the renovation of this project, they had to be time bound. You had to use that money at a certain time. And this we earmarked for IAA, given the time frame that we had to be able to vacate the building with other space that we were able to relocate the school and the students and begin that renovation as early as last February. So you came on board during that time, like you said, and walk us through what were the initial things that we had to prepare, or things that changed in the school while students were in there. What did you work on? I remember the playground and the things that people were like, oh my goodness, what are they doing?
Yeah. So the first initial things, the design engineers had designed certain systems to be in place. They were looking at different areas of the building to be able to run ductwork and piping from the attic to the basement and so forth. So during the different school vacations, the contractors would be able to get in and do some exploratory work to make sure that they could get ductwork from the attic to the basement, and same thing with piping. But throughout those different areas of exploration, they found they couldn't put them in certain areas, and so they found other areas with which to put some of the ductwork. So that's what some of the timeline that we took during the February and the April school breaks.
That makes sense.
It was very beneficial to the project.
Right, and obviously to create a roadmap of how we're going to do what with the vendors that we were using. So our energy efficiency, so heating and cooling throughout the whole system, this whole school. So we have in 1904 the structured building, and then we have the 1965 addition off of is it Elmwood Ave and Archibald Street, and then I think
Walnut.
it's Walnut. Yes. So in looking at those projects, the decision was made to use geothermal. And that geothermal, then the real estate that we had was the expanse of the playground.
Yes.
And can you walk us through what geothermal is and Monash, I know, and the months and months that they took for the drilling, and when we created geothermal using it at IAA, what it start to finish, what begins first?
Sure. So geothermal is in the wintertime when we dump the cooler water down into the wells, it comes up as warm water. Warm water, 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And not usually any warmer than that, but that provides a heat sink and whatnot, and so your boiler works less in the building because that water is so much warmer.
Okay.
In the wintertime. in a sense, in the summertime, you've got free cooling from the geothermal. So some of the wells, we ended up doing 30 wells at the school.
Wow. So we can, I know we can go, I'll drive. I know we have some great pictures. Oh, hold on, let me just show you. Here are, I'll go to the wells. Sorry, we'll go back to the boiler system. There, is that some of the drilling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's some of the drilling, right.
Okay.
So initially they had done some design calculations that they needed to go down 350 feet.
Wow.
But then they got doing some more calculations and realized they needed to go down 500 feet. So, so most of the wells are almost 500 feet deep. Okay. With a 5-6 inch casing on the outside, piping. The two pipes, supply, return, go into the casing. They're 1.5 inch size a piece.
Wow.
There were some wells as we got closer to the building that there was some bedrock that the well driller, Monash well drilling, just could not get through. And so some of those wells are only 350 feet deep.
Okay. All right.
So, so it's, you know, they had quite a job in front of them to drill.
The number of wells is contingent on the square foot of the building or the amount of...
Depending upon it all depends upon the heat load or room, which is what we always call the noise maker.
Yes.
Because that is room, which is what we always call the noise maker.
Yes.
Because that is now removed, we need bigger ductwork to be able to bring the fresh air ventilation into each of the classrooms.
Got it.
So, so if you supply air in, it needs to be returned out. So, because we didn't have the ceiling space, the designers decided to put the ductwork on the roof.
Got it. All right. So we're looking at the ductwork now. The boiler room, 1904.
Yes.
I mean, I know we did some upgrades from then, but
right.
The original floor was there. So it was the dismantling of the entire boiler. So there was no air conditioning in this building.
Correct.
So It was all heating.
All heating.
Facility. So there's a picture of the old boiler room. And it said the old, like you just talked about, the old noisy air compressor was removed back in May to a new electronic temperature controls. And I know that we're working with BED as well. And there'll be some pictures later. I know we were running some electrical wires underground from the pole.
Yep, new transformer that we had to put in. Yep.
So this is the start of filling up the wells, small
Yes.
gravel within
Correct.
the well.
Yep.
Process of grouting the wells, like you just spoke about.
Yep.
Picture of the boiler room that's just about empty from all the dismantling and all the metal. And then we move on to the vault, the picture of the new geothermal vault.
Yes, so all the piping from all of the geothermal wells, it all gets collected to this vault. So then from the vault, there's only two pipes, a supply and a return, as you can see at the bottom here.
Yeah.
So one goes into the building and then the other one returns back to the vault, which as it returns to the vault is then separated into the 30 different smaller pipes that goes out to all the individual wells.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
And I loved looking at this machine. So the
Yes.
20 feet piping,
Right.
that how you're hopefully never going to be digging up for a break.
Right.
But these are like
They're seamed together.
seamed. I couldn't think of the
Yes.
word.
Yep.
So this is the machine that seams all the 20 feet piping together so that it's a seamless run from the wells to the vault.
Correct.
Okay, amazing. And next, the concrete cutting. These are cutting the holes to get into the foundation.
To get the storm piping from inside the building to outside the building.
Okay, thank you. And then I know when energy efficiency, again, lack of insulation back in the 60s to new, more efficient insulation to keep this wing warmer, as warm as the main building. So all the purple insulation against the foundation.
Correct.
More pictures of the foundation and how it sits up tight. And then the new conduits, as you were talking, are installed for the new junction boxes all through. And so a lot of the building, this is the cafeteria.
No, that's one of the classrooms.
Oh, no, the classrooms
Yes.
leading out to leading out to the playground.
Yes, correct.
All right, so putting all new walls to do, like you just said, new air in and out heating systems. So that entire 1965 wing, all the walls came down.
All the walls came down.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Correct.
And I know here's the foundation that were being cut. Those are the 2 pipes that you talked about for this electrical room. All right. And the chimney. I know I saw some interior photos of the attic, which were so interesting. What are we doing with the chimney? And I see that the lift, inspecting it.
Yeah, correct. Exactly that. Inspecting it. Because we found that upon trying to run the new boiler flue up one of the existing chimneys, as the contractor got in to drop the new flue needed for the new boiler, they didn't like what they saw. They saw a lot of brick that were loose and whatnot. So we hired a consultant to come in and evaluate because today's equipment likes to sit on a level floor.
Makes sense.
And the old floor, because we had taken out a couple of walls within the old boiler room, which was actually the coal bin and the coal ash that we found within the boiler room.
Right.
So by taking those 2 walls out allowed us for the boiler room to get even bigger.
Right, to utilize that
So
space.
we like to set mechanical equipment these days on something that's solid and level.
I mean, this is the largest ticket price. You know, when we think of the cost of the entire project, half the price. I mean, for a building this size and the square footage. I know that when we look at the budgets and improving the budget for this, that was your biggest price.
Right.
You know, your
Correct.
biggest. Not biggest price, your biggest investment.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Correct.
That's what I was trying to say. All right, and I know that we, picture of the piping, I moved quickly over the dental because I know that we had to close the dental services down for this renovation to get to the exterior wall. And also the hangers this is the gym.
Yes.
So
Yep.
piping can be placed so it's going up within the roof.
In the joist space.
In the joist
Yes,
space.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yep.
you're not losing any height
Correct.
from the building.
Right.
Demolition of the mechanical room, the removal of the exterior walls. Thank you for these great pictures. I know they might make some people emotional, but I'm sure they know the investment is being there and the intricacies of what was under each of your cabinets. And I know that we're also new windows and lighting will be installed for the building energy upgrade, and the bathrooms. And that's just the storing, as much storing as we could do on site, and then
Within
what we
the
moved,
library.
Yes, and then what we moved over to St. Mark's to set up an entire school. So appreciative all the faculty and staff and family and students that helped us in this transition. It's invaluable. And now we get to the exterior of the building. What is all that piping? I see Burlington Electric Department on the pipe, on the utility pole. What is this piping along the ground?
Yeah, so that piping is electrical conduit. And what that is Burlington Electric is giving us a new service, bigger service, almost an 800 amp service. So by that, we need to bring the new power into the building. So again, instead of trying to think of putting it overhead where there's really no ceiling space within the 65 wing, the contractor said, well, can we bury it? And so we came up with a scheme of how to bury most of the piping exterior to the building, minimizing the conduit runs in the building to be above the ceiling.
Wow.
So there's the start of the electrical conduits so it goes from the telephone pole down to the new transformer. There's a major disconnect on the wall behind the transformer, and then from the disconnect going into the building are the conduits in the ground.
Wow. And for all your architect plans and how many sheets are we talking? Like layers and layers, because you really start from the ground up. So
So if I had to guess, within the main packet of the architectural sprinkler,
Well, it was our vendors and giving, like you said, that exploratory work, that site work, all the things that it takes so many individuals to come together to give their professional opinion on the work that they're going to be providing and services that we're going to be providing and how they impact one another. And as clerk of the works, your job is in charge of scheduling, communication, updating.
oversee and mainly to oversee the contractors are installing per the pages that the architect and engineers put together. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you for explaining that. Again, the piping in the ceiling, gone through the roof, installed by the roof unit, so we're going up to be the least what's the word?
Least impactful.
Thank
Yes.
you. And I know the bathrooms. I remember we've had some overflow issues as well at IEA. So starting fresh with bigger bathrooms, not necessarily bigger, but because of we had 1904 some plumbing in some. We were spending so much money on parts that weren't available and fixing and Band-Aid. So to be able to start fresh and look at what's available is huge. So these are the bathrooms on
The 65 wing.
1965 wing. Thank you. And using the excavator within the old classrooms. The cutting of the new underground, the thermal piping. I remember when that opened up to go through to the boiler room from the outside. This is the progression from Vermont Mechanical inside. Those are all the new units that head out to the geothermal. Wow, amazing. And this is the bird's eye view. So going back a little to the geothermal from the vault, some of the playground equipment still there?
Yes.
Or working around it?
Working around it, yes.
Okay, great. Here we go. Welding on the pipe like we talked about, making sure it's sealed. Ductwork going from the basement up into the attic, how efficient it is against flush to the wall, taking up the least amount of space. Demolition on the second floor bathrooms. This is the back side of the second floor bathrooms in the 1904 wing. And the beautiful entrance, the picture showing the sanitary piping, which is from the ceiling, the lobby to accommodate new plumbing fixtures. All the pipes from the different areas coming through. Wow. So these are all...
Those are all the disconnect switches for the pumps in that boiler room in the 1904.
Wow. So will we have a P-Touch machine and be labeling all these? Yeah. That's my favorite. When you go down and it says, someone hit the breaker,
right?
Then you know who's doing what.
Right.
What breakers to what device. The electrical conduits, the piping, roof jamb. Unbelievable. Exterior walls now starting. So where are we at now? I know that these, some of these updates these are the fall. I didn't look at my hard copies, but this is all the fall coming through there.
Yes.
Yep. We'll go through the plumbing, more plumbing, all throughout the intensity of all of this working from within. Electrical. And there's the 1965 wing.
Yes, right.
Wow. And the Smurf tube, the blue conduit's called the Smurf tube for flexible to get to places through each of the what are those called? The
studs.
Studs, metal.
Yes, the metal studs.
Yep. Okay. Classrooms. I can't wait to see once the sheetrock goes up.
Yes.
All right. Picture of the attic, the catwalk. So having to put up another subfloor on the original floor just for safety reasons?
No, we're doing it because the attic floor is going to get covered with insulation. And so about 20 inches of insulation, and it's the R value needed per the energy code. So the walkways are going to be there because we don't want to walk on the insulation.
And that was another thing. This building was not up to code, so we were bringing it up to code based on these efficiencies.
Correct.
Wow. The new boiler, has been turned on for temporary heat for the workers. I don't remember, it said it's set to 80, but really it's 53. I
Yes.
laughed at that picture.
Yeah.
That was funny. Oh, wow. It's coming to shape. And again, the brick foundation from the original, putting up the studs and the wall that would be sheetrocked. And now I know we have about 10 minutes left in our show. Looking at all this, again, all these photos are available with the updates online for people to look at. I just love these windows. The sprinkler system. What is a why do we need a sprinkler system for?
So you don't, but you do.
Okay.
So you do because it's part of life safety.
Yes.
It's to keep everyone safe. So if a fire accidentally happened, then the sprinkler system would go off and start to put the fire out.
Without a doubt. Yep.
Correct.
So that's bringing it up to code for
Yes.
the sprinkler system.
Yep.
All right. Well, those are all the updates from all the pictures. And what are we talking about now? I know the timeline. I can go back to refresh my memory.
The next, I think the next milestone in another couple of weeks, we will start to see sheetrock on the walls.
Okay.
Then from there, I believe windows are slated to come in either the end of January or the middle of February. So that'll be another big milestone. We're also looking sometime in January after the first of the year for the exterior walls on the 1965 wing. The contractor will come and start on his work. So his work, even though we've now put an interior wall to cover up the old concrete walls, there's going to be an exterior shell that will also cover up the concrete walls on the exterior with its own insulation layer as well.
Great.
So that is going to be starting along with then the cladding that's going to go over that exterior wall and that exterior insulation to protect it. And that's the cladding that we all will see as we drive by the building and whatnot. So,
Okay, aesthetics, right?
Yes.
Wow, great. And then when are we proposing it to be completed?
so the contractor right now, the main contractor, is looking to be done at some point in May.
Okay.
And then there's other little finishes within the Burlington School District that we may want to do as well. Like cleaning up the gym floor, for instance, rebuffing that and re-waxing it and getting that ready for the kids to come back
Great.
at the start of the new school year.
Yes. So August 2025, when students will move in, we're so excited, and it has gone by fast for us. I know I haven't been there all day and working the long hours, and big thank you to all those contractors and subcontractors and talented professionals that are working and dedicating their time and their expertise for the betterment of our most beloved, one of our most beloved, or all of our schools are beloved, but IEA and H.O. Wheeler and the history of the school. And I know people have said, finally, I can't believe it's happening. And I know students and families that were displaced, we can't do it without the support systems and people being amenable to taking a year off from their school, their community, and then being able to come back in the fall. Well, thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I loved reading all the updates. I'm really impressed and supportive of the work that's gone on by your team, and I know Marty Spalding as a big part of our community and working and conscientious about all those things that need to get done. And I always look forward to your updates. I know we get them weekly from our Superintendent Flanagan. So on behalf of the Burlington School District, we want to thank Capital Project Consulting, Marty Spalding, Tom, for your work and dedication on working on Integrated Arts Academy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
It means a lot. So on behalf of the school board, thank you for joining and tuning in.